Hey, cool. I see you again. That's so cool. So you're back, and we have something really interesting for you today. But before we get started, let's, as usual, because no sponsorship, no Patreon, no ads, just our shop. We got t-shirts. Her Infernal Majesty said I'm not allowed to wear it, but they're really cool. Her t-shirts. We have our templates, which are really great to help you with your writing. And of course, we have books. This one will really help you with your writing. Or if you like novels, there's novels over there too. Check them out. Links are down below. Now, what we're going to talk about today are actually several books. We're going to talk about some of the early fiction of Angela Carter. I love Angela Carter. These are books that most people, there are a lot of people talk about Angela Carter, and a lot of people talk about her later fiction, understandably, or The Magic Toy Shop, or her fairy tale work. But as you know, because I talked about it last time, not long ago, that Angela Carter, I think one of the central things to look at with Angela Carter is the Sadian women and how that influences, or has, you can see the influences, the roots of that reaching backwards and forwards in her writing. I see that as a real linchpin of her writing and her positioning of herself. So what I have here are, apart from The Magic Toy Shop, which I haven't included because I think just about everyone talks about The Magic Toy Shop. And in all honesty, I didn't actually like The Magic Toy Shop that much. It was a little bit too... I mean, I liked it, but I liked some of the other stuff better. It was just a little bit too whimsical. And I think that's what attracts most people, but I'm not really a whimsical kind of girl. So the first one that we have is Shadow Dance, which is actually Angela Carter's first novel. It's a surrealist novel, and she's looking at misogyny, and she's looking at female passivity, and she's looking at the seduction and the seductive qualities of male violence and the seductive qualities of male friendship. This one is a bit of a lopsided novel because she is writing very much from a male perspective, which I'm not 100% certain always comes off. It's highly, highly surreal. It's highly surreal. And it's very much a working through of, in some ways, an exposition of misogyny, but also a working through of Angela Carter's own internalized misogyny that she obviously needed to work through her system. This was a book from the 1960s, so internalized misogyny as a problem is not really that big a surprise for a woman writing in the 1960s. But it's also notable because it's a massive break from the realist narratives that were dominating the 60s, what were called the kitchen sink dramas. This is a surrealist narrative. It's not meant to be read straight. And as a result, it is a really fascinating debut novel that comes from Angela Carter. So, Shadow Dance. Not perfect, but has interesting elements and as always with Angela Carter, the language itself that she uses is quite exquisite. Her mastery of language and her ability to write beautiful sentences is evident right from the beginning. So that's one. The next one that we have is Several Perceptions. This is a much, 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 much funnier book. It's looking at the counterculture, and it's about the flower power and the hippies and all of that, written at the time. And it's just a really fun book. So this one is another one that I would highly recommend. It has surrealist qualities, but not nearly as much as many of her other works. But this one is definitely one I would have a look at. Less is written about that book than any of her other books, so it has less sort of literary meat on its bones, but it's just a really fun read. The next one is Love. Love is a very weird book. Love is actually a rewrite of another novel, or inspired by an older French novel, which I haven't read, but it tells the story of a married couple and the brother of the husband who comes and lives, and they are a very dysfunctional, very, very dysfunctional trio. So that one, again, it's very surreal. It's also looking at female fragility and passivity and critiquing that as an issue. So that's an interesting one. It has connection to the pre-Raphaelite artists, and their depiction of women is what she's doing a lot of evoking. In particular, the Drowned Ophelia by Malaise. I don't know. You know, the one who ended up doing all the little cutesy pictures with soap bubbles. I mean, yeah. The one who married Ruskin's ex-wife. Yeah, because Ruskin didn't like the fact that she had hair down there, because he was like a little bit naive about things and therefore wouldn't touch her. And so when Malaise came along, it was like, woohoo, she was up for it. She actually ended up having to tell him to stop having sex with her eventually. So she had one husband who wouldn't, and then one husband who wouldn't stop. Poor woman. But Love. So it's not a book that you would probably automatically think of with Angela Carter, and I would say is more one of those ones, if you happen to be, like me, a bit of a completist when it comes to reading someone, read it, but you don't have to. You'll probably you'll understand Angela Carter if you don't read it, but it's not something you'd necessarily have to skip or have to have. I'd call it an optional one, but I think it's interesting. And finally, we have the controversial Heroes and Villains. Heroes and Villains, which is Angela Carter's response to critics who called her a Gothic writer, which she did not really see in herself. In this one, you get a recreation of themes that you do see in the Magic Toy Shop, as in the sheltered girl suddenly coming into contact with men who are from a completely different world, who have that a much rawer, savage energy compared to the civilized energy that she's used to. You see that in the cousins-in-law, the aunts, brothers in the Magic Toy Shop, and you see this in Jewel the Barbarian. In this story, it's a post-apocalyptic world, and there are the professors who are attempting to hold on to the knowledge of the old world, and then there are the barbarians who live outside and scavenge. And outside of like what are clearly former bunkers, nuclear bunkers. So it's post-apocalyptic, and Marianne is a daughter of a professor who runs off, is kidnapped by the barbarians, and she marries one of the barbarians in a ceremony she marries Jewel in a ceremony that is being concocted by a former professor who is now trying to engineer a society among the barbarians. It is a story that starts to put a really dynamic female character at the center. So instead of putting the male protagonists at the center, as you see in the other three books that we have a look at, we actually see Marianne starting to take a leadership role, a central role, which is quite an interesting development in this. There is a rape in this. It's not... Even Angela Carter said that she was told, sort of more or less told to put it in, and she regretted putting it in because it was sort of like to make it more salacious. It's not really... It is not really necessary, but it's not that bad. I mean, it depends. It depends on where you are in terms of if that is likely to trigger you, then probably avoid it. If not, it's there, it happens, it's pretty quick. I wouldn't I wouldn't let that put you off, unless that's something that is very specifically going to trigger you and going to upset you. I read various reviews of this when I bought it, just because I was buying it online, and it was interesting. Some people really, really disliked this book for things that really were just more or less things that had dated it, that had meant that it was dated. I mean, yeah, it's written in 1971. It's not, it's a 50-odd-year-old book. It's not going to be absolutely up to date with things now, but I think it is worth looking at. It's a post-apocalyptic work. It discusses ideas and themes that were very relevant at the time she was writing. Post-apocalyptic things, the bomb things were very, very resonant for her generation. And so that is expressed there. It's also gothic. Is explicitly a gothic. So things that are in it are over the top, extreme, and gothic. So keep that in mind. I don't know if it is for everyone. I would say it probably isn't for everyone. However, I have read worse. Ian McEwan's one with the dogs. That's worse. Yeah, just so you know. Just so you know. There is worse. It's not that bad. Unless it's a particular trigger for you, it's not that bad. But I would give you that as a trigger warning. So, yeah, we will have a look at some more Angela Carter, but as whole novels, not just as a group. But these 4 little novels. They're a quick read. I think that they're worth having a look at, but I didn't think that they're worth giving a video each, so we just do them together. But anyway, I will see you again later on. Peace and love. I'll see you next time. Bye. If you would like to support this channel, come across to the Black Cockie Press website, www.blackcockiepress.com.au, where you will find books and other writing services to help with your writing.